I'm Michelle from Legal Suite, and in this webinar we are going to look at the final account for the seller in a transfer matter. Now, please note that I have already retrieved my final account items, and if you need some assistance on this, please have a look at our webinar on retrieving final account items for our seller and our buyer. Right, so standing on my transfer matter that I've already completed, I come into the DocGen database and select my final account over here. So I can either click on the little icon or I can press the F4 button on my screen. So in we go, and you will see that all my items have been retrieved. So to our seller's final account. Right, now all the items that appear here have been brought in from the DocGen database, and you have the option to obviously add additional amounts. Okay, so let's go through the items one at a time. Now, here is our purchase price. Okay, if the seller has a bond on the property or which was cancelled, and as you can see here in this example he does, what was the amount required to discharge the bond and to cancel it? So highlighting the item, we can either right click and say change, or we can click on the edit button at the top here. So amount to discharge the bond, let's insert the cancellation amount. Let's say it was 425,000 to cancel the seller's bond. And in we come. Right, so that is then obviously offset against the purchase price. Our cancellation costs have been pulled through. Our estate agent's commission plus VAT has been pulled through. If there was an occupational rent amount, and we were prorating between the buyer and the seller, if the purchaser took occupation earlier than registration of transfer, we could insert it. In this particular instance, I am going to remove the item, so we can simply right click and delete, or we can click on the delete key at the top here. Legal Suite will ask you to confirm your deletion, and out it comes. Pro rata share of rates. If your municipality refund you the attorney instead of the seller directly, and you need to prorata the rates between the buyer and the seller, this is where you would put the seller's prorata share of rates. Again, for the purposes of this, I am simply going to delete it, and out it comes. Now, entomology certificate, electrical compliance, gas, plumbing, electric fence have all been brought in from the certificate screen, and the Homeowners Association arrears amount has been brought in from the property screen. So after offsetting all the amounts owed by the seller, this is the amount that is now due to the seller. Now, you have options when it comes to printing and merging your final account. The final account is merged from this particular screen. Okay, and you have the option to display it either in the invoice format or the Recon format. So let's have a look at what the invoice format looks like. You also have the option to display the RAND sign in the body of the account. So let's put a little tick on that, and we will show you what it looks like. In this particular instance, we don't need to include banking details because no payment is due to us. So we're going to take the little tick off of that. If you did include the banking details, whichever trust account you selected when you captured your matter would be displayed at the bottom of the final account. And we are going to pop it into MS Word on our letterhead. Right, so we click on OK. The program will then merge the letterhead and will present it at the bottom on your taskbar in MS Word. So let's just wait for that to merge. Right, there we go. Okay, so on our letterhead, referenced, dated, addressed to our seller, headed final account with the description of our matter, and this is your invoice layout. I am not particularly fond of this layout. I find it slightly confusing, but again, it depends entirely on how you wish to present this to the seller. So what you would do is you would obviously print out 3 copies, one for accounting, one for your file, and one that you would then send to the seller with this bundle of documents. So let's close that, and let's have a look at the Recon format. And as I mentioned, I personally do prefer this particular format. So let's have a look at how it merges. We click on the OK button. And again, the program is merging the final account and will pop it into Word on your taskbar at the bottom. Right, again, on the letterhead, same as before, addressed to our seller, headed, and here we go. And again, I just find this a lot easier, showing the debits and the credits. All our items are set out, and you can see our totals at the bottom with the amount due to the seller highlighted. You would then obviously pay this amount once you've been paid out in terms of your guarantees or your deposits to the seller. And that is creating your final account for your seller.